So, the question I get all the time is how much content should I actually be posting as a small business owner? I want to dive into the specifics of exactly how much you should be posting as a small business owner because this is a question I get in DMs and comment sections literally at least a couple times a day. And before we dive in, I do want to warn you of something. You might not get an answer that you like to hear. You might not get the exact number of times that you should be posting, but if you watch this video in its entirety, you are going to walk away with a strategy of how to figure it out for yourself. Because in all honesty, I am not one of those strategists that likes to tell you an exact number and you have to follow it every day for the rest of your life. So let's dive right in. So the first thing that we actually need to talk about is cutting through the garbage advice. This one's going to be a bit more of a mindset shift versus strategy, but it's really important that we talk through this because there is a lot of really bad advice out there on social media when it comes to talking about how many times you should be posting. And just because that TikTok expert said that she's found success in posting 5 times a day on TikTok, that doesn't necessarily mean that you need to be posting 5 times on TikTok. This is going to work for somebody like her, like him, that's a TikTok expert, and this is their job day in, day out. So creating 5 different videos on TikTok might be way easier for them. They might be actually making money off of those TikToks. Therefore, it is a part of their business model. But that doesn't mean as a business owner yourself that you need to be following that same advice because you are not a content creator. You have a business to run. It is literally their job to be on social media and it is not yours. And in full transparency, it is also my job to produce a crap ton of content. And I can give you my posting frequency and my posting strategy. But here's the thing is that it is my job to show up on all these platforms and in all of these places to give you the advice that you need. And I'm telling you right now, you gotta stop beating yourself up over trying to post 5 times a day on TikTok because that's just not sustainable and it doesn't make sense for your business. Another big thing that we need to chat about here is if somebody is promising you growth or saying things like, you have to post X number of times a day for the algorithm to even notice you, you need to stop listening to their content, period, point blank. Because a lot of these times, it is part of their strategy to create content like this that's a bit more fear-inducing. It helps them sell their courses, and that's fine. Let them do their thing. But I'm going to tell you right now that there is no set amount of times you need to post in a day to get an algorithm to notice you to get guaranteed growth. Yes, sometimes it makes sense for small business owners to post more, to grow, to hit certain numbers and targets, but that doesn't mean that it is a blanket strategy that you should be following. Because here's the thing, and this is the big key point that I want to drive home here is that consistency is what's going to matter over anything. And a lot of these times when these experts get on and say, you have to post this many times, or you have to do this, you have to do that, they aren't keeping a small business owner in mind. And the thing that you need to understand here is to find that success, to find that growth, to hit your goals, whatever they are, consistency is going to beat quantity almost every single time. And here's what I mean by this. I would much rather you create 6 Instagram reels and instead of posting them over the next 2 days, like this one expert is saying, I would rather you take those 6 reels and spread them out over the next 2, 3, even 4 weeks. Because oftentimes what I see happening is small business owners will get super, like really into content creation. They'll create a bunch of videos, they'll create a bunch of posts, and they'll want to get them out into the world, rightfully so, because you spent time and energy on creating them and you're excited about them. I totally get that. But what often happens is you'll post those all for like the next week. You'll get super like, okay, I did it. I'm burnt out. I don't want to do that again. And then you'll ghost your followers for 6 months. Whereas let's say you're feeling super motivated and you created 10 Instagram feed posts. Take those 10 posts and stretch them out over an entire month instead of posting 2 per day for the next week. Moving into the next step of the process here is actually determining your social media goals. And this is going to ring true for any small business owner, no matter what platforms you show up on, what you want to post on. You need to know the end result, the end goal, and we're going to reverse engineer it backwards. And here's where I see a lot of people get frustrated. They think a content strategy is how much they should be posting, when actually the foundation of your content strategy needs to be what goals are you trying to achieve. We'll work backwards from there and figure out how much you should be posting in order to hit those goals. So I'm going to dive into a couple examples here. For me, as an infopreneur, I have to show up in a lot of different places and my posting frequency is very high. Because the ultimate goal for me is to build enough brand awareness, bring people into my online community, consume my content in a way that's best for them. So that's why I have to show up in a lot of places and post a lot of things. Because my end goal with the building brand awareness is to bring enough people into my audience, get them on my email list, get them to join in and subscribe wherever they see fit. And then ultimately, I can sell digital offerings to them. I'm also building brand awareness so that I can book paid speaking collaborations. I can book those paid content partnerships. Because to me, it is more important and it helps me hit my goals by growing my audience kind of wide, casting a wide net, and talking to a lot of small business owners. So therefore, that determines my posting frequency. For me, I'm posting a minimum of 1 to 2 times a day on almost every single platform. I'm showing up on YouTube once a week. I'm sending out a newsletter at least once a week. I'm creating a podcast at least once a week. And then every other social media platform, I show up as I see fit. So now, that doesn't mean that needs to be your frequency. Let's dive into a bit different of an example. Maybe you're a service provider and you have max capacity of 5 clients per month, whether you're doing retainer services, maybe you do one-off projects or VIP days, but you know that you need 5 people to schedule and book your services each and every month. You don't need to cast as wide of a net as I do. I'm trying to attract thousands of people, whereas you only need 5. So in order to attract those 5 people, you do not need to create nearly as much content as I do. Posting a few times a week on Instagram is going to totally be enough for you. And maybe you want to prioritize showing off behind the scenes of what it's like to work with you, letting people know when you have new spots open, and doing that daily on Instagram stories, while maybe creating a reel a week and maybe 2 or 3 other feed posts. Because honestly, you don't need to create a 30-minute long YouTube blog every single week. That is kind of gonna be a waste of your time because it's not going to get you the traction you need to hit your overall business goals and your social media goals. So, moral of the story, know what your end goal is, how you're going to make money, and work backwards from there when it comes to figuring out how to post on social media. So now we're going to dive into content type and your posting frequency, the moment you've all been waiting for. Now that we have your goals locked in and you have a couple of platforms you know you want to show up on, you need to understand what type of content you're going to be creating for these platforms. Because here's the thing, you and I both know that certain types of content take way longer to create than others. Some platforms have higher requirements when it comes to time and commitment levels than others. And then there are certain types of content and platforms that require a lot less. And of course, your skill set and what you like to do is also going to play into this. So again, for someone like me, I know that I can consistently show up on YouTube once a week. I put a lot of time, effort, and energy into these YouTube videos, so I know my bandwidth and what I can create. And there are plenty of other people out there creating vlogs that are an hour long each week, or there's other content creators out there that are creating 3 YouTube videos a week. I don't listen to what they're doing. I like to look and see, of course, kind of pick up on their strategies. But I know for me, I've got 1 YouTube video a week in me, and that's about it. But by showing up on YouTube once a week, I can take that content and create a ton of repurposed content so that I'm able to show up on other social media platforms at least once or twice a day. And for me, that is sustainable. I love showing up and creating YouTube videos, but for you, it might be completely different. Maybe you're a photographer and you have a ton of client work through photos and maybe some behind the scenes videos as well. You probably have the flexibility and honestly kind of like a little content bank with your client work to show up on Instagram in the feed at least once a day. And that's what works for you, and you can maintain that consistency over time. But maybe you're a copywriter and you love to create more in-depth carousels and research pieces on LinkedIn. That's going to take a ton more time than maybe the photographer that can just put up an image, write a little caption each and every day on Instagram. It might take that copywriter a couple more hours in order to produce just 3 posts on LinkedIn. And neither one of these is right or wrong. It's just depending on the business owner, their goals, and their bandwidth. So what's the formula for finding your exact number? It's truly going to depend. And this is the answer that I know you didn't want to hear. But blanket advice that you find on the internet or that you see on that social media post truly is not going to work for you. That's the bare bones truth. It takes a number of different factors, as I've kind of walked through in this video, to find that number that you're going to create and post every single day. And again, there's another factor of that changing over time. I used to only be able to show up on Instagram once a day, and now I show up on 5 different platforms every single day. That number is going to change over time as you adapt, as your business changes, and as platforms change. And your goals might change over time. And as your goals change over time, you're going to have to adjust your posting frequency. The one piece of tactical advice that I want to leave you with here, though, is to test something out and give it a full month of your time and see how you feel afterwards. Maybe that looks like 3 Instagram posts per week and showing up in stories Monday through Friday. Or maybe it's committing to creating TikTok videos on Sunday evenings and posting them throughout the week. Whatever that looks like for you, give it a try and see if you can maintain it consistently for a month, and then you will be golden. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments below. I might feature you on an upcoming piece of content. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next week, and don't forget to hit subscribe.